Hello and welcome. Today I am in Washington, D.C., joined by Christine Lagarde, MD of the IMF. Christine, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the future of the IMF as an institution. And obviously the question of making sure emerging markets are properly represented has been something that's been discussed for several years. There's been a quota reform in 2015. But do you think this is enough to make sure that the IMF is as inclusive as possible? What more could be done, and is it necessary?
I think that the IMF is necessary. Our mission is financial stability, economic prosperity. And given the globalization of relationships, the massive connectiveness that there is between all countries, all authorities and all operators, it's critically important that there be one financial institution that has a global reach, that has traction at the national level, which has access to data and information, and which can be of support to countries that find themselves going through a difficult path. So the mission is solid and vital. To accomplish that mission, clearly the institution has to be credible and has to be representative. Our credibility relies on the quality of our work and the excellence of our staff, and I'm very keen that this be maintained. And our representativeness is going to rely on the participation of the membership into the board, in terms of quota, in terms of voice, in terms of staff. And we have gone a long way into improving the representation of the emerging market economies. We need to continue. It's a required process under the governance rules of the IMF. So we have completed the 14th review. We now need to embark on the 15th review. That is going to be yet another journey towards better representativity of our members. I'm very proud that now the 4 large emerging countries are part of the top 10 shareholders in the institution, but there has to be more, and there has to be continuous improvement because the economic landscape has changed, changes, and will continue to change.
And another key aspect, I think, of the IMF's work that has been, I think, changing in the last few years is obviously the big involvement of the IMF in trying to promote gender equality. And a lot of the work that you've done in this space focuses quite a bit on equality in the labor market. And I was wondering if this will be changing, let's say 10 years from now, if the focus will be even broader beyond the labor market as a key focus.
You know, I'm very attentive that the fund be aware and ahead of the curve in relation to anything that is macro-critical. So we have taken an interest in the issues of inequality, in the issue of gender participation, in the issue of climate change, in the issue of governance/corruption, and we will continue to do so. I think it's also critically important that we understand technologies and sciences and the impact that it will have on the economy at a macro level. So gender, yes, has been a concern for the fund because there are multiple countries in the world that are losing out on women in particular. There are multiple talented resources that remain untapped. There is not enough financial inclusion for many of the women around the world, and there is a shortage of education and rights for many of them. It has macro-critical impact, particularly in the case of some aging population, where clearly giving better and more access to women would address some of the issues that countries are facing. If it's not a moral issue, it's an economic no-brainer in my view.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Christine.
Thank you.